Good morning. Good leap day, everyone. It happens every 4 years. There's an Egyptian myth that the year used to have 360 days. That would make perfect sense. And forgive me if I get this legend inaccurately. Um, but Ra and Isis. Okay, I think that's who it was. Ra and Isis uh, had a thing going. Okay, and but she also had a whatever it was. She got pregnant. Okay, and her main squeeze was jealous and cursed her that she couldn't have the baby in any day of the year. So Thoth figured out that he could talk, I believe it was Ra, into a game of dice. Okay. And Thoth being the mercurial character who's, responsible for all things kind of mercurial, including cheating, uh, loaded the dice. Okay. So that he won 4 extra days of the year, or 5 extra days, 4 point some extra days to the year, uh, and that's how it became 365 days of the year. Uh, I'm sure it was a fable to explain probably an astrological event, or at least to communicate the theory that the Earth at one time had changed its orbit enough to add uh, a little extra time, a little extra degree to the year. Uh, but but who knows? It's leap day, and our son Jean Paul was, I think, born in a year that had a leap day. Okay, he was born on the 28th. Anyway, uh, I was watching Constance and I watch Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! every morning with our morning tea. And the situation in Gaza is absolutely monstrous, and it's really hard to ignore the fact and the feeling of hopelessness uh, that many people are experiencing. And the idea that we personally, in our generation and in this time and place that we're in, are so incredibly fearful about the political situation, fearful about the environmental situation. Uh, and it's a background meditation of fear that uh, I believe is not only unhealthy, but it's totally unnatural. But be that as it may, I wrote a little thing at the very beginning of Low Magic about fear, because spookiness and terror and fear is an actual element in ceremonial magic. Not that you're meant to freak people out and scare people and such, but the idea that that so many of us are programmed with superstitious ideas of the afterlife and hell and demons, and as we look around us, we can certainly see what appears to be monstrous demonic evil uh, happening. Uh, but for many of us in the magical community, we were either raised uh, with a background meditation of fear of heaven, fear of the devil, uh, and fear of demons and exorcists and things like that. That part of the technique of uh, self-liberation is overcoming that fear, and every uh, initiation that you take in your life, whether it's a formal initiation or a personal initiation, uh, is usually preceded by a traumatic event that requires you not to get rid of fear, but to overcome it. It's an energy release that happens uh, when you overcome a fear. It's not that you should not be afraid so much. Yes, you should be afraid, but the fear itself is something that helps, once it's overcome, helps trigger the illumination. Uh, in magic, which is a psycho uh, dramatic art form, it plays an important role, especially if the magician is uh, operating alone or without advice, wise counsel, or psychoanalysis. Uh, at the very beginning of this book, it's one of my favorite books, Low Magic. Okay, chapter 0, and I've shared it with you before, but today I have a feeling it's especially appropriate. It's very short. First, let's talk about fear. A couple of epigraphs. Speak of the devil and he appears, an Italian proverb. Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford, I love quoting myself. For a magician, it's better to be possessed by the demon than ignored by him. It's a sad fact, at least from my perspective, that not everyone who picks up this book and thumbs through it will end up buying it. It's also true that not everyone who buys it and takes it home will read it from cover to cover. So just in case these opening remarks are the only words you will ever read from this book, I'm going to immediately exploit this fleeting moment we have together and impart to you in large uppercase letters the most important secret of magic and of life. Do not be afraid. Now, if you're short on time, please feel free to close the book and fearlessly get on with your life. Don't get me wrong, it's good to be cautious. It's good to be wise. It's good to be measured and thoughtful in all your actions and behavior. But fear is poison to your life, to your magical practice, poison to your life. Please know that I'm not preaching this gospel of fearlessness from the marble pulpit of righteousness and courage. On the contrary, I'm shouting it from the pasteboard megaphone of my own ignoble and cowardly character. When I began my life as a practicing magician, it seemed like I was afraid of everything. When I rehearsed my first pentagram and hexagram rituals, I superstitiously monitored everything from my heartbeat to my horniness. I fantasized seeing things out of the corner of my eye and recorded the most outlandish speculations in my diary. I realize now that most of my fears of things that go bump in the night arose from the deepest stratum of my childhood religious programming. In less evasive words, I was still consciously and unconsciously brainwashed by my Christian upbringing, still trapped in a hostile universe that reverberated with the thundering curses of a wrathful God who frightens little children into acceptable behavior so that they grow into obedient, God-fearing adult little children. I was programmed by films and literature based upon that unwholesome doctrine of fear and self-loathing. Today, as I review my old diaries, it all seems pretty silly and melodramatic. Performed greater invoking pentagram ritual of fire for the first time. Later in the day, broke a shoelace and had acid reflux. Or slept with Mars talisman under my pillow. Dreamed of my father's corpse was eaten by seahorses. Woke up with an erection. Thank the gods I had in those early years a knowledgeable, experienced, and competent magical mentor. And this was, speaking of Phyllis Seckler McMurtry, at first anyway, Soror Merrill, who mercilessly ridiculed my childish fears and helped me develop an attitude akin to that of a motivated research scientist who is driven by intense curiosity and a sense of scientific wonder. Remember Laura Dern's character from the film Jurassic Park? Rolling up her sleeves and plunging her arm into a huge pile of dinosaur poop for a clue to the poor animal's tummy ache? Well, sometimes a magician is faced with even more disturbing psychological and spirit world challenges. And the key to meeting those challenges is that same detached attitude of fearlessness, determination, and unshakable passion for enlightenment. I recently received a letter from a magician who believed that her mood swings and other health issues were the result of her magical workings. Here's a portion of my letter back to her. Concerning mood swings and health issues vis-a-vis your magical practices, it's usually best to ascribe them to the normal demons of body chemistry and the stress of 21st century urban life. More often than not, a head cold or the flu isn't caused by backlash for a magical operation. Even if it were a negative reaction to your magical work, your doubts and fears over the matter only serve to give the entities you fear permission and encouragement to keep feeding your insecurities, and perhaps much more. By becoming preoccupied as to whether this pain or that fear might be a demon messing with you, you voluntarily give the demon power to give you this pain or that fever. In a very real sense, the demon has evoked you. Try to remain mindful that you'll probably live through all your magical workings, except perhaps the last one, and that nothing neutralizes the power of a pesky demon more than having its scariness ignored. Remember what it says in Liber Librae. Humble thyself before thyself, yet fear neither man nor spirit. Fear is failure and the forerunner of failure. and courage is the beginning of virtue. So that's, I'm sure you've heard that several times from me. Uh, Back on before I leave the subject of what's going on in the Middle East, uh, several years back I wrote this book about the Knights Templar and speculating on what secret they could have possibly held that would have given them a carte blanche with the uh, kings of the world and the Roman Catholic Church. And I tried not to be too speculative. I was in contact with Thomas L. Thompson of the University of Copenhagen, who wrote the book Mythic Israel and a few other things. But I think now more than ever, I would like you, if possible, for you to read what I said in this book, especially the first part of the book that deals with the Old Testament and a little bit of the New Testament, and the existence or the questionable existence of the historical timeline of events. And it's called The Key of Solomon's Key. Is this the lost symbol of Masonry? And I think the first edition, it was called Secrets of Magic and Masonry. Both of them the same book. That's it for today. I'm sorry I'm not more cheerful today. But we all have our days of funk, don't we? Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.